Welcome to EGO NetCast. I am Martin Lindeskog, and I have a message. I'm reading now from my blog and the show notes. I have a message. And this is my message, hashtag. So search on Twitter on this. It's a podcast documentary, The Messengers, and I have been one of the backers of this crowdfunding campaign. And in the show notes, you will see an image, a photo of the Messengers T-shirt. And you could go to the Messengers doc, as in documentary. So, and they used a service called TeeChip, and I'm thinking of using that myself for my own crowdfunding campaign for the illustrations of my first forthcoming book on black tea. I'm also thinking of using a service called Redbubble, and I read a blog post in Small Business Trends, on Small Business Trends sites about this service. And then I will include a caricature of John Cox, by John Cox, of Ralph Waldo Emerson, with the following tea quote: "Some people will tell you there is a great deal of poetry and fine sentiment in a chest of tea." So you will find good stuff in a chest of tea. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Letters and Social Aims. And I purchased this old book from a book service, and found this quote. And he has many interesting poems and letters and so on in this book. And it's a couple of months since I did a podcast. I did an interview with Maria Dolores, and I will tell more about guests in the pipeline here. And I've been struggling on this with the workflow of this podcast, and if I compare it with the smoothness and the flow with my other podcast called Produktivitéet, or Produktivitéet in Swedish, it's productivity and tea in a made-up Swedish word. With my co-host Johan Gustaphzon, and he is very structured, and we have a great flow there. So we are doing a podcast every 2 weeks, every fortnight, and I will come back to that with the schedule there. But I'm planning for EGO NetCast. Right now, I take a sip of matcha green tea here. So that's the thing, and I come up with. I have this other podcast every 2 weeks, and then I will also start continues on a regular basis on also in Swedish called Menypodden, Menu Pod, talking about food trucks and street food culture, and also do interviews and other things that I'll come back later on in Swedish called poddradio. That's podcast and podcasting in Swedish, poddradio.org, that I have a domain for. So the question is, should I keep on with this podcast, EGO NetCast? And I have been podcasting since 2006. So it's a question, should I continue with this? And I've come up with the following thing, that I have a message to deliver. And I wrote a tweet there on my account Lyceum. EGO NetCast's mission is to spread better ideas on new media, business philosophy, and the good life, including tea. Hashtag this is my message, and hashtag podcaster. So this podcast, as I said, had been some time since last time, and have been marinated, you could say, or you could read into it. It have been procrastinated or curated like a ham, Christmas ham, during the intermediate days between Boxing Day, and I'll link there what the Boxing Day is, another day, Christmas, as you say in Swedish, and New Year's Day. But now it's the first week here of the New Year 2017, so it have taken some time. So please listen to this episode as I write in the show notes regarding the shout-outs and so on. So, and I also will do another podcast episode about my 3 words. That's inspired by Chris Brogan's meme since 10 years, I think. And for your information, short, I come up with 3 words yesterday, and they are fizzle and tenacity, and the third one is prolific. More about this later on in an upcoming episode, and also in a newsletter that I got inspired by when I saw Elsie Escobar's new newsletter about her excitement about stuff, and that she will do every week. And now to the show notes. So you can say one part is the new media, and I got, probably was a sign, so to joke, when I've been struggling with the podcast workflow here. I got an email from Podcast Planner, and I signed up for email and newsletter, and then I got this document called Pulse Check. What are you going to tell your listener? And as I'm telling you now, I have a message, and I will continue with this podcast and podcast in general. And I want to also spread the good word about podcasting. And how do you want the listeners to feel? And in parentheses, they say some suggestions: inspired, entertained, and educated. And I want you to feel both, or triple, as you maybe say. Inspired about my message here, entertained, but I could be a bit funny sometimes, some dry humor, and educated about new media, business philosophy, and the good life, including tea. And one thing will be this meta about podcasting that I have got inquiries about, and I will tell you more about that in the shout out. And why are you interested in this topic? I'm interested in podcasts in general because I've been doing this for so long time, and I see it as an interesting channel platform for social media activities, and I'm in it for the long run. What do you want the listeners to do after they have heard this episode? And that's this call to action. I want you to keep on listening, giving me feedback, and also support my activities. For example, with my work on my first forthcoming book on tea and my crowdfunding campaign. So, the business philosophy, now it's already Christmas is past, but next week it's 20th day of Christmas. It has a special English word, something almost like Hillary, but Hillary Mass or something like that. And then you throw out the Christmas tree. It's 20 days after Christmas. So we could still call it Christmas period. My link here is Why Christmas Should Be More Commercial by Dr. Leonard Peikoff. And it's important to reflect on this. More will come about that in my upcoming newsletter, the second issue, that I now will be regular doing a newsletter every week. And there I talk about some ethics and philosophy. The Good Life. I had included a link to a video when I'm doing masala chai on the stove. And it's pretty funny seeing what's happening when you're doing something in a pot like that, if you're not giving full attention. So look at that on YouTube, and it have some spicy things. Johan Gustaphzon and we talked about this tea in the last episode of Produktivitéet. And also I have a link to matcha focus that I'm drinking right now, green tea, a powder tea. And please use my ID number, member number, when you order there from the web shop, and you have the information there in the show notes. So click on that link to the web shop there. And now to the shout outs. So we'll do some here on Boss Jock, bumper here, a whistle high pitch. So that's the shout out. And I will take a sip of this matcha tea first. So, shout-outs go to the following people. Andrew Alleman of Podcasters Guest. This has been one thing when I'm struggling with my workflow to get new guests and pipeline. I have a service called X.AI. It's a virtual assistant powered by artificial intelligence, and her name is Amy. And you could have one assistant called Andrew also. And it's great service because it takes away this back and forth with email and ping pong, and they take care of that. That have been one thing, and there's lots of planning, and then of course preparing for the interview, doing the interview, listen to it, doing show notes, writing blog posts, and then market it, etc., and then rinse and repeat. And now through podcastguests.com, I got an ad, you could say, for my show and the guest that I'm seeking, and I got great response there. So now I'm planning to have a guest every month, and I'm more or less booked for the whole year. So that's interesting to see. So I'm giving out a shout out to podcastguest.com, and thank you for the interest from potential and the upcoming guests. And I will be in touch here in the near future, and we will start with a batch of new guests. So thanks again, podcastguest.com. And then Niklas Gerholm of podcasters.se, because this has been one thing with the struggle. It's not very expensive, but it cost me about $80 per month, like $800,000 per year. But I see the potential, so that's why I'm sticking to it. At podcasters.se, they are trying to find also to podcasters like me, belonging to the long tail, to find sponsors and affiliate arrangements and other that you could have a partnership with, so you could get some kind of reward and incentive to continue. And I will come back more about that with investments in time and equipment and other things like that. And also in the long run, how you could get more assistance and outsource certain things in your podcasting workflow. So thanks, Niklas, for this initiative to create some kind of platform for podcasters here in Sweden. And then Lena Göthberg of Shipping Podcasts, and also the members of Gutenberg Podcasting Meetup that I started, that you have been a great success and inspiration to follow you in your area. And they're also coming to how you attractive sponsors and supporters of your show. And it's been very great talk and conversations during these meetups, and I'm planning to do this more for this year. Maybe more laid back versions, but we will see. And maybe we could do a series of different steps here in the workflow, but I will come back to that. And it's great to see that it's all of these meetups around the world regarding podcasting, and that's something that I want to attend in the future, meetups and podcast conference and events and so on. And that's coming that again with the time, energy and investment, how to be able to participate in these activities. Take another sip here of matcha tea. And then also Fahim Shah for his idea about the Armchair Philosopher podcast in the future. Now, as I said, I have this EGO NetCast, I have this Swedish one on productivity and one on street food, so they're free, and another on a regular basis, but I will talk general about meta, about podcasting, that's 4. And then I have Treadpal, it's together with Lotta Gergels Aston. We are not doing that on a regular basis right now, but it's still trendpal.new, still existing the site, and you could listen to 25 episodes of our short and sweet podcast there. So now I'm maybe thinking of starting another one, but then I will not be the leading one. I want to have somebody I could be a moderator or coordinator. But the idea is very interesting as I'm interested in philosophy. And you have this expression called armchair philosopher, that you're sitting in your chair and discussing philosophy. And they had a BBC series called Philosopher's Arms or something like that. Like Bishop Arms, that's a pub name. So you're drinking beer and talking philosophy. For me, it's that you could drink tea, beer, wine, whatever, but philosophy is a serious business. So we'll see what could come up with that. Thanks, Fahim Shah. And then Brent Lear of Small Business Trends, one-on-one interview series. Brent, you have been a great inspiration, and Small Business Trends have been great support, and I have been podcasting there, writing about podcasting lists, 100 top list for small business owners, and I have some ideas for that for the future also. So Brent, thanks for your support, and thanks for being a guest also, and I will do a follow-up with people that have talked during these 10 years, so stay tuned. And Karin Hög of Solopreneur Cast in Denmark, Copenhagen. Thanks for a standing invitation to be a co-host for your show for one episode. So I look forward to visit you in Copenhagen, Denmark. And I will talk to you more about the podcasting event you are going to in the near future. I think it's called Podfest. And also future events and conferences. So talk to you soon again, Karin Hög. Thanks for your support and your inspiration regarding your podcast here in Scandinavia. And then Sean Smith of The Mobile Pro. I have been, as I said, curated and marinated and procrastinating this episode for some time. And during the time I have listened to and participate in Sean Smith's Facebook Live sessions. He had 10 sessions here on the biggest mistakes podcasters are doing and making. And I have done all of these mistakes. And I'm a customer and client and friend, like I say now, to Sean Smith. And he has been a great inspiration and help and support. And I will go back and watch and listen to his courses here on being a mobile pro when it comes to podcasting, because I want to have it in a simple way, to be able to put it in a backpack, going to conference, doing an interview in the street, a food truck owner, etc. So I will get the right gear, practice on my microphone technique, getting this workflow going, and other things like that. So thanks again, Sean, for your inspiration and for your Christmas gifts there. And I look forward to your new course and mastermind group, and I'm interested to participate in that in the near future. And then Chris Reimer of Maryville Talk Social on SoundCloud, and then hopefully here on another place also. SoundCloud, as a parenthesis, is in a, how do you say, economic situation. I'm a SoundCloud premium customers. That's one of my costs, but I see it as a distribution channel, not my main platform for distributing. But it's a great services in a way, and a nice player and so on. But they are focused on the musicians in the first place, not the podcasters. So Chris Raymer, he reached out to me on Twitter, on our favorite tool there, on a direct message, and asked about the RSS feed and how you get that one, and if a provider like a sound web host like Libsyn hosting company could help with that, etc. And I like SoundCloud also, but Libsyn especially very much, and I'm great service there, and I'm sticking to them as a customer and as a client, because I have, for example, a standalone app called EGO NetCast that you could search on Apple Store and Google Play and Amazon's store. So if you don't want to use Podcaster or Stitcher or some others, or if you want to have an extra app, I will work with this more in the future to give out extra material like videos, PDFs and text material that only people who download this free standalone app will see. I will be in touch with Libsyn and talk about that more in detail. So I could give myself the title of app developer. It's Libsyn that have done all the technical thing, but I'm standing as the name of on the App Store, Apple App Store there. And that's also a cost. It costs about $100 per year to have an app on Apple Store. But I see it as a great unique selling point in a way for the future. So, talking more soon here about where I have been future, but I will take another sip here of matcha. In the future, my solo shows will be about 10-15 minutes. Now it will probably be about half an hour, so please stick with it and stay with me for some more time. And now then to where I have been featured on. So here comes the, you could say, the fire and ambulance or whatever. Yeah. Undesigned, EGO NetCast and Martin Lindskog have been featured on Butterflies of Wisdom by Wynne Kelly Charles. It was on August 26, 2016. It was a great interview, and she did that with a service called Zoom. And I include that in the link in the show notes. So please listen to that and give it thumbs up and feedback and comments. So she had a great interview with me. And thanks again, Wynne, for having me on your show. And she has an impressive way of how she's doing several podcast interviews per week. And then, as I talked before, Libsyn, thank you much for including me in your blog, Elsie Escobar, on September 26th. And then I did, you could say, an audio shout out to Libsyn and why I like them so much. So please listen to that. And also, I've been included in the Rockin' Libsyn podcast on October 10, 2016. So there you could get more background of my podcasting, my background there, the gear, the techniques and workflow and other things that I'm doing. So please read my post there that Elsie Escobar has written, and I answered her questions. So thanks again, Libsyn, for including me on the Rockin' Libsyn podcast. And that could be also, say, a bit about struggle, but also it's like Christmas, that it's excitement when you open a package or a box. And maybe, I don't know English word for it, but you get something and then you're looking forward to it. When you get it, you stop a while and wait for the so-called right moment to use it. And I got a funny remark by Lotta Gergels-Aston, co-host of Trendbell. She said about these snapbods that I've been a backer of a crowdfunding, and it took 1.5 years before I got it. But when I got it, it was in the package for a long time, and I haven't opened it yet. It's on your now earphones, earbuds you could have, so it will not tangle. So it untangle my earbuds and maybe untangle my life. I will including a picture there in the show notes about how I want to untangle my life here in 2017 and help others to do that also. And also another thing that I have been a backer of is Imbue, and that's a vessel for making tea, and you could have it like a container also, keeping it warm. So that I will do a special, review, a test and so on. So I will do more of these also, like meta things on podcasting, but also the good life like tea, chili peppers, and things that you could get things done, and like gadgets and some other stuff. And also, this is also a sign, you could say, beginning here of a new year, I got an email from Prolific that had been called something with writing on track before in the past, and they have a crowdfunding campaign also for an app that get you going and taking small steps like Kaizen, writing every day, and they will have an app there that you could put up your goal. So I am supportive of that, and I will also give one of this app to a client of mine, Nita. She's also writing on a book for leaderships and leader groups in companies. And I want to thank Johanna for being a coach and accountability body for my writing for my first book here. It's been a great support and help, and that's one of my focus, to keep on writing on my first book and get funds for the crowdfunding campaign, so I could have for the illustrations by John Cox. So that's my main focus here for this year, and I will keep you updated and do more updates on the crowdfunding page on gogetfunding.com, and search for my name or search for T there and you will find it. More about that later on. And there you have also one product that will give me help here, and it's Trig Life Mapper. It was a crowdfunding campaign also. I bought it after the crowdfunding campaign, and Johan Gustaphzon and we talked about this. He has got another kind of calendar using this bullet journaling, and that's also what Elsie Escobar was talking about in her latest newsletter about bullet journal. It's a bit funny that I want to have this free mind and open space and write down by hand, and when I'm writing notes I will take often a big paper, but when it comes to calendar and taking notes there, I want to have some guide. I want to have a regular calendar with dates and lines and bullet points that I could fill out. So this will be interesting to use this Trigger Life Mapper. I have a question there. If you have an idea how to protect a nice calendar with that, you could see a photo of it in the show notes. Please give me some information about their links and so on, where I could get like a small bag or cover or something like that could protect my calendar. Trig Life Mapper. And now we are coming to, you could say, a commercial break or an announcement for being an affiliate here, and that's for Audible. So here comes a bumper.
We'll be right back following these commercials.
And this is, as I said, Audible. That's owned by Amazon. And the audiobook that I want to talk about is How to Live a Good Life, Soulful Stories, Surprising Science and Practical Wisdom by Jonathan Fields. So it's 3 buckets there, and to fill up all the buckets all the time, step by step. And I thought that was very interesting. And then he comes into some other ideas about ethics and so on. So that gave me a kick of getting new guests also that you will see later on in the pipeline with guests, as I said. So I have some in mind there, subscribing to same philosophy as I do. So more about that later. And one link that I had in the future here, or in the beginning of a post, is a video with Gary Vaynerchuk of create in a way, but document and do a documentation, like This Is My Message documentary about podcasting. The journey here, my struggles, what I'm learning, how I fail forward, and how I achieve things, and how I could inspire you, educate, and entertain you. So please keep listening, and please see if you could support me in different ways, and keep on in touch, and please give me constructive criticism and feedback, and reach out, for example, on Twitter, on Lyceum or EGO NetCast, or go to egonetcast.com. And I have also linked there to Amazon, that you could buy the book on Amazon. And more regarding affiliates is Ringer, that I'm using when I'm doing podcast interviews. I'm very pleased with this service, and I get high quality sound. And for example, Sean Smith did a shout out there about the interview and the sound quality from Ringer. And he is also mentioning that in one of his Facebook live sessions about Ringer and other services that you could use. So go to ringer.com/ego if you want to use a great tool for interviewing on long distance. And then you have fizzle. That was one of my word. You could fizzle, starting a fizzle, like a spark. My background is as a purchase of raw materials of production of welding electrodes. So I know how a spark is and a fizzle, electrical fizzle. But you could also fizzle out. And that was what I was pondering on and thinking about. Should I continue with podcasting of EGO NetCast and so on? Or will it fizzle out? I don't really want to say that words here, but now I've done it. And that have been with blogging also, when I got some not constructive criticisms, but negative. And when I was almost thinking of stopping blogging. So, but I have a why, and I have a message here. This is my message, that I want to spread better ideas when it comes to new media, business philosophy, and the good life, including tea. So Fizzles is a great support and forum for coaching, and also to continue with my new site here called teaparty.media, that I'm in the process of doing. And that will be, and I will take another sip here. This will be my so-called last site. That will be an umbrella for all of my other activities. So that will happen during this year. And you will see that in the newsletter also, the logotype and banner by John Cox. And the last here affiliate, or you could say rewards code, is FireFan. That's a new app, a sports app. So you could play, and you could have a game, and you could challenge your friends and families and others and sport fans. First here, is American football, NFL, and others, and then it will come regular soccer and other sports in the future. So check out the link there and sign up on this free app, download it, and use the rewards code Lyceum. And I also created my own league, teaparty.media league, and there we could discuss this kind of stuff and also sports. And I say, go Pats, New England Patriots. I'm a fan of them, and I learned to appreciate this kind of sport during my studies in America at Southern New Hampshire University in New England. What's your favorite team? And I feel I have to get another sip here. I've talked for a long time. So, do the call to action here now at the end. And go to egonetcast.com/support. And there you have different ways of supporting my blogging and podcasting and so on. And I've linked to my patrons on Patreon page. Elaine Smith, that are doing great videos on live streaming. And I will start using that also more for my backers with updates of crowdfunding campaign, but also on tea and other things, and mix it up a bit. And then Niklas Larsson, he is also supporting here the podcast called Ultra Runner, and I thank you for the support, Elaine and Niklas. The funny thing in a way is that the amount that I get, I pay to other patrons or other creators on Patreon. So it's, how do you say, zero game there. But I like the service, and I will continue to support others. And if you want to support me on a regular basis, it could be $1, it could be 10, it could be whatever. And then you will get some perks also. So check out Patreon and Lyceum there. And I will update that with a new video and so on. So, and Niklas, he's active in something called civil defense here in Gothenburg, and I'm a member there too. And I did you could say, a job there at the big book fair, that they have a booth informing about how to prepare for things that could occur, called the 72 hours, how to survive during 72 hours. And I got then, so I could get some new gear. So I went to forsound.se, great shop there that have a chain during Scandinavia. So I will get some new gear. So I will talk more about that in the future. So, and also another call to action is do the survey. So go to EGO NetCast survey on Libsyn. So click on the link in the show notes, and you will see that. And it's surveys could take time to do it with only a few minutes, and it's more if I get over time here people signing up for that and doing this short survey. You could show future and potential advertisers and others supporters for that. So please check that out and give a profile of the listener. As you know, you are unique listeners, so that's said. And at the end here, I will start my newsletter on a regular basis, Lyceum Bulletin, using a service called Review. I got the premium account there now. So I now have a challenge. I will do this every week. And that will be mix up things with what's happening during a week on new media, business philosophy, and the good life, including tea and chili peppers and others. So, and I got inspired there when I saw Elsie Escobar starting a newsletter about stuff that she is excited about, and she's using Review also. So now I will do that, and I also have a twist. I will do that with the text, but also short summaries as a podcast. So I will use a service called Audio Boom there. Within 10 minutes, I will do a short summary in English, and then I will use Made with Opinion in Swedish. So that will be included in the newsletter. So now I'm really doing a challenge here to do some kind of podcasting every week in English and Swedish. So stay tuned and check out my newsletters. You could find it on EGO NetCast on a form there, or you could check the show notes and click the link. In the future, I will also have a domain there called, I think it will be an under domain, you say, or subdomain, bulletin, like a newsletter, .lyceum.email. I bought that domain, lyceum.email. So on my business cards that I created with Tea Party Media logo by John Cox, and on the back is a caricature of me holding a microphone and have my cap on, so that my podcaster image that you see on egonetcast.com. There is a QR code, quick read code, and that is going to the newsletter. So every time I'm mingling and meeting people, that's a call to action also to scan the code and sign up for my newsletter in order to stay in touch and get wealth of information and food for thought. So, with that, I've finished for the time, and thanks for taking time and listening to my new episode, and keep in touch and talk soon again. And I would end here with the jingle by Jim Johnson. So take care, and soon I will start with tea kettle and then the jingle. So here's the tea kettle. And here comes the jingle. Over and out. Martin Lindeskog here. Take care. Cheerio.